job with the Google Hangout. But if there's some issue, I understand we're live. If there's an issue, I'll have my Podio on my phone working, and you can communicate in the group conversation internally for us there. Okay, and since and that's how we'll do the sort of the backstage conversation instead of handling up here and me getting in trouble because I'm sharing screens that I should not be. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll go back straight to where we were at. Let me share the screen. And we'll go straight to here. So where we were, I think what we were talking about just before we dropped is the fact that how are students going to be able to transfer their credits, and the fact that we're going to have a lot of data for institutions to look at in terms of students looking at, like you said, most institutions want a copy of the syllabus, lists of things that have been accomplished to make sure it aligns with their curriculum. The only other piece is that most students require, most institutions require some type of approval, whether it's state or national or regional accreditation. Pat, why don't you you can look here and then just go on the wiki, because you'll be able to hear everything that goes on. So I don't see it necessarily a problem with those, with these classes, so long as they're built out and they're appropriate, they should be able to transfer. But there's a lot of work to make sure that those classes are up to snuff. What else? What other kind of questions what other things should we go through, or what other questions do you have?
Well, I think that from my standpoint, like the business portion, that shouldn't be a problem getting those classes written in Oplerno, but there's a lot of work to be done with the general education component.
Right.
And and the 23 courses over 9 general education components, that's just like a minor blueprint, because I think that also, like, if we have entrepreneurial students in India, business is different from, starting, a small business in Alabama. So, when we write courses, we should have supplementals, so something, some of the business courses are, it's relevant to the location of the student, but also the general education courses also, I think it just can't be like English 101 and, English courses about Chaucer, they need to be very universal. So I think it'll grow, it'll be a lot of courses to choose from, but I'm wondering, how do we get a diverse group of gen ed courses without it seeming rushed or something like that, because somebody has to write the courses, of course. But
yep.
I don't want to entertain that portion.
Yeah, let me address those two questions. First, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to spend most of tomorrow talking about the general education piece and sort of my vision for how things need to move forward in that, and along with some discussions with interested students and faculty members. And you're absolutely correct that there's going to have to be supplementals in terms of dealing with people regionally. One of the things to keep in mind, though, is that when we're talking about an intro to business class, you're going to want to list the skills, again, the 6 to 10 skills in a general introduction to business class that a student is going to need to demonstrate. See, for so long in higher ed, we've been thinking about, just classes and assembling them together in a framework to move forward towards a degree piece, and we've been missing a critical component, which is listing the skills. okay, that you need to know in that class. And the demonstration of skills is going to be pretty diverse um, depending upon the whole, depending upon where the student is. And so those supplementals are going to be, really important. Now, I'm assuming, you've done a great job of outlining, what you think the business degree, a business degree for an undergraduate needs to be. I mean, I am assuming that you're not planning on developing courses for all of these things and teaching them for all, correct?
That's another thing I wanted to bring up. I'm experienced in writing courses, and actually I would be able to do it all at one time, but over a course of 2 years, maybe, I would be able to. I've been trying to recruit people, and they loved Oplerno concept. They don't want to write the courses though, and so people have said, if you do the course, if you write it, we can do some monetary split, and I'll teach it. But no, because of my personal life and the horrible adjunct world they're in, they're already juggling 3 assignments, that they can't put together a course, or even if they thought about it, they would brainstorm on paper. And a couple of people, they've actually signed up, with Oplerno, and then they just, they made a title of their course, and then they're like, yeah, I'm going to get to that. And so I think, while it's a lofty goal, I think that while I wouldn't expect to try to develop like 20 courses in a month or something, like steadily over time, I would endeavor to create a course and then gain more input, necessarily teaching the course, but then bringing in people that are ready to go, that wouldn't mind the, a split or something like that. But, obviously my expertise is not in, I wouldn't be able to do like the micro lending piece, or, something that's very advanced economics. But the lower division courses, I think that I could develop the courses and just at least give it a start, because what I'm asking people that I'm talking to is you're going to have your supplemental text. People that are in England, they're going to have some expertise that's specific to how they were educated, and that's what we need, something to supplement the textbooks that that might be built into a base course. So we're gonna, my idea is to develop the course and then have them go in and then upload videos, like supplemental videos, or even use their own text, because I think once they get going, they'll say, wait a minute, hey, this does look good. And if they're teaching a couple of classes and getting the income, then they might be more inspired to actually develop one on their own.
Okay, I totally get what you're saying, and that's definitely we've thought about that being also one of the different ways to move forward in terms of for the business model. In other words, what you are is you're a content producer. Okay.
Right.
You're producing classes that you're then licensing to faculty to teach. As someone who's designed a lot of curriculums, when I started Vermont Common School, I designed the social science curriculum, and that was just, probably the equivalent of 14 semesters worth of material to march students through what I thought people needed to know in the social science, and a few other kinds of classes like research and service. Course development and program development is incredibly intense. It's a lot of fun, but it's really a lot of work, and I would never want someone to have to develop more than in terms of, you've created a nice framework that people can work off of, which is great, but I never want a person to have to feel like they needed to develop more than 3 or 4 classes over the course of a year, because the money, the best way to get things started and to be making a decent living is to also be doing the teaching, and it creates great feedback. So I guess what I'm saying is that I'll set you up. I don't want to do this right now because I will get in trouble with my coworkers in terms of setting you up with a Podio account. But what we're going to do is I'm going to set up a system with you and I and with our team to help manage the process through Podio, and in terms of creating some of these classes. I think you've got the framework that people can start discussing about concentration courses. Et cetera. But there are going to be some kinds of modifications. I think to get you started where you're earning income, and where you're also able to hone your course development skills, which you already have, but where you're able to hone them is if we kind of break this down into the certificate, like 3 or 4 classes that can be marketed and communicated as a certificate. So I'm going to edit something right now, okay? And we're just going to call this, whoops, I want to cancel that. Let me go to Files and Pages, and we're going to go to the BS in Business, but we're going to call this, I'm going to rename this the business program. Okay?
Okay.
And add a redirect. Enter the name below. You can optionally redirect visitors from the old page to the new page. Well, we're going to not have the, so we're going to add the redirect, so people will only go to that. So we now have this program thing called the business program, and what we're going to do is I'm going to want to go down, and I do want to pull up the guide to degree granting programs. Where is it? List of Woodblock. Guide to program course and degree development guidelines. Yeah, I'm going to be spending some time tonight redoing the navigation piece. We're going to hit these 5, copy, go back up to business program. And I'll make a separate page for the, I'm going to make a separate page for the Bachelor of Science for this project and what we're working on, because you've outlined something that really, I mean, that's a huge amount of, you've staked out a huge amount of territory, and that's great. But I think that we want to make sure that we go a little bit smaller in terms of, scope of work, so that we figure out the workflow piece. Okay. I'll fix the formatting in a little bit. So when we're talking about a certificate class, okay. Good grief. Where do I get where's the formatting button? If you're out there and you can edit, where is the formatting? Oh. Interesting. Whoops, that might be it. Alignment. Yes. Left. And I probably have to hit save. Hold on, just figuring out, just changing the formatting piece. Nope, did not work. We're not going to muck around with it live. So when you think about like a business certificate program, okay? What do you think? What's sort of the first one you're thinking that's going to be the most successful? And Pat, why don't you chime in because why don't you explain a little bit about the certificate and the program that you were thinking of, and we can see whether there's some areas of overlap that in terms of classes you were developing and classes that are being developed here already that we can muck with.
I was originally thinking of a certificate in food service management, but as I'm looking at this, we could easily do an associate's or a bachelor's in food service management, which is a fairly rare course because most of them are in hospitality management, which is similar but different.
So you see as kind of that you have the business program,
right?
Okay, so the business programs here,
yep.
Okay, but you see that there can be a subset or a parallel track where the food management piece, you have a lot of classes here that actually hit that up perfectly.
Right, so I'm looking at this and I'm saying intro to business, small business management, principles of marketing, leadership for entrepreneurs. Here where you have new product development is menu development sort of thing.
Right.
Would be, there's a catering component, there's, so a lot of these could come into a food service management program that would really specifically target restaurant owners or entrepreneurs who want to become restaurant owners, which is significant because most chefs have no business skills per se. They're chefs. So that's why restaurants fail, because I'm a great cook, I'll open a restaurant, I have no business experience.
Okay, so let's say let's do a what if.
Right.
Let's say we're a 24-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got some undergraduate credits.
Yep.
Okay, or maybe I have none. Okay, I'm working through, and I want to show my, I kind of want to start getting that BA.
Right.
Okay, and of course I also need to show my employer, or maybe I'm running my own food truck.
Yep.
Okay. But something's going wrong with the business, and I look online and I say, hey, I need a business program.
Yep.
Now I can't do the BA yet, but I'd really like to do a certificate.
Right.
Now between the two of you, okay, what would be 4 courses if you're going to give someone a general knowledge of business, and they can apply that to their own specific industry.
Right.
Potentially, they can apply it to food. They can maybe apply it to art or sustainability or what have you.
Yep.
What do you guys think are the 4 courses that you'd want to have for that business certificate program?
Business math.
Let's say out of here.
Out of here, the 4.
Out of here, what would the 4 that you'd pick?
For a business course,
for a business certificate that's going to give people the basics that are going to allow them to start the process of being, I don't know, let's say an assistant manager of whatever business, or maybe to start conceptualizing and thinking about a business they want to create.
Right.
What would you think is the 4 major courses that they would want to have for a certificate in business administration?
I think for me, I think the 4 courses would be Intro to Business, because that actually includes them doing a business plan, small business management, and I think an important course would be either the new venture finance or business finance for entrepreneurs probably would be more appropriate, and then marketing strategies. I think they cover a wide range of information, and so it's not going super in depth, but it's giving them a general overview, and I think those would be a good start.
So so how about this? Why don't you go in and edit? Actually, let's have so I know that Pat knows how to do it.
Mhm.
She's right next to me here in Burlington. Why don't you go in and you put those forward? You go up to the top and you say certificate in, certificate in business.
Right.
Okay. And I don't know. Let's put it below the how do I propose a certificate or degree program. Hopefully, and I'll fix the formatting. Okay. But you put those 4 courses in, and I think you've got, you guys have, those should be the 4 courses that I would develop first. Okay.
Okay.
And you can put the nice thing is that you can start sort of the what if piece to it. In
Right.
other words, somebody might say, okay, I would like a certificate in business, but I want to concentrate on, I'd like my last class to be e-commerce strategy. Okay, so I've got 3 of those core courses that you've created. Okay, but the last class is kind of like my sort of choice. I'd like it on, one of the extra, one of those extra classes you have, the food service management.
Right.
It could be. And what you've done though is so you've given a basic framework.
Yep.
And the great thing is you've also created something where people can then, outside the U.S., think about that huge market. I mean, people are not going to be able to, and even in the States, they can't afford to wait for their BA. Okay, they've got to get the skills they need to change things and do things now. And that's, by having the certificate in the 4 or 5 classes, that's really good, and it can also act as a gateway for them to decide, wow, I really like business.
Right.
I think I'll go on and I'll start taking more classes and getting my my associates or my BA. But I think you're absolutely right, professors, to point out the fact that the Gen Ed, we don't have the general education classes ready yet, but we can have the here. Why don't you just edit it on mine? That way people can see. We don't have the general education credits ready yet, and this is a way for them to already get started on improving,
Right.
Improving their lives without the Gen
Where's
Ed
the edit
credits.
button?
Oops, you go up to the top, and you hit edit.
Thank you.
You're done. Let's put, just so that it's on the left, let's put it below this proposal.
Below here?
Yeah.
Why am I not finding where I am?
There you go.
Oh,
And then we go up. Then, no. Centered. Ugh. Well, just throw it in the center for right now. Again, I'll edit it at lunch. Professor Pam, is that okay? Do you agree with that approach?
I think that's perfect, and I think it's a good start, because as we're building courses, and I think people that are maybe shying away from jumping into creating courses, they can see that, hey, these courses are already there, and I have, a student over here is looking for something to go with my course, because another entrepreneurial concept might be, computer programming or something to invent video games. Yep. So they would still need the 4 components, and culinary skills, doing a course on that, or just doing a computer programming or a gaming course. I think, we have the potential to create a lot of mini certificates that can be expanded. So I think this is great. This is a great start, and it's something where it's not too lofty that it can't be done. So I think, as we're looking at the marketplace, we can approach other people that are maybe kind of stuck in their courses, in the creation of it anyway, and then say, hey, we really need your course to go with this certificate. Or people, I'm sure people will start completing them, and there's always, I saw a couple of other entrepreneurial courses being developed, so that's great. So I think the market is there, and these courses, even, you know, some of them might be a little bit more advanced. I think they set the foundation for a good certificate.
I mean, it's really important to keep in mind that we're a little bit on the chicken and the egg piece. That we do have a lot of people that are, you know, now saying these crazy people actually going to be able, and that's okay. What we've got to do is, if you go to, if you go to the enroll at Oplerno.com and you go to the marketplace, I was just noticing, you know, last night as I was going through mail, and I can't believe I hadn't thought of it before, is that we've got 2 really interesting classes on using technology in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's possible to get, you know, 1 or 2 for a certificate in using technology in the classroom that can lead to, you know, a master's degree in X.
Right.
And build that. Now, when you're talking about gen ed, I don't want to, how do I put it, spill the beans about tomorrow. But sort of, I'll do a little, is that, well, you know, one of the biggest issues about non-completion for degree programs, for college students, is the fact that it's the transfer credit issue. In other words, institutions a lot of times will limit the number of credits that can be transferred from one institution to the other. Now, they don't limit it because of the rigor of the class, okay? They limit it because they want to build demand when they have admitted a student that they
Right.
Okay. So, and is going to have a very, very little about transfer credits.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't take your transfer credit and use it in your portfolio. Okay.
Right.
You know, we can't document a skill that you don't, that hasn't been. We can't document a skill that you haven't worked on with a faculty member to learn.
Right.
Okay. But if you have, you know, all kinds of different credits,
yep,
and we have a particular program, why wouldn't we allow that student to transfer as possible? Okay. I mean, the point is to get people. For right now, the point is to get people the degree, and the point is to get people out of that debt cycle, and for completion, which is incredible. The point is not to generate more demand for the internal courses of the various departments and the professors. I think we do that anyway if we offer really good stuff. And then the second thing is Coursera and edX, these large-scale MOOCs. Now, I don't believe MOOCs are a great thing. I don't believe that MOOCs are the way forward for most people. Okay, these massive online courses, but they're at least as good as large that are taught at most research universities and colleges that are in large lecture halls. In terms of it, you know, there's multiple
right.
Okay, as long as it's certified to them at the end and pass the class, why would you say that question for credit? Okay.
Right.
Now, again, it doesn't count for the. It doesn't count and can't be used to document the skills in the portfolio.
Right.
But you know, for somebody who's trying out college for the first time, they're making progress without having to spend $3 grand.
Right.
Okay. Right. On taking a class at a local private institution or a grand at a you know, $2 grand. So we're going to have a really liberal transfer credit policy in terms of the MOOCs too.
Right.
But you know, there are some upsides and downsides to that, and we'll talk about that as a community. But you know, we want our value added is people being in the portfolio system and documenting those skills,
Right.
and having the diversity of, you know, a lot of information to find that perfect professor. Okay, we're not going to play the game of, you know, oh, you know, the credit from, you know, such and such state school, you know, is clearly because it's from this school, it's not going to be transferable.
Right.
You know, we're just going to look at the syllabus and look at the, you know, documenting what the student has actually done, and if it meets the standards of the classes that we have, then they're going to be able to transfer their credit. So, what's your initial thinking about that policy, professors?
I love that policy. I think that having been an online student for so long, I more than most realize that education is a truly personal journey, and I'm not necessarily going to learn everything I need to know at Oplerno.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
It may be that there is a local class or a MOOC that is more specific to what I need to know for my own educational journey that's not offered here. And certainly many of those MOOCs meet the same criteria for credit that is expected in our program. So,
what do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's a great idea because I take some courses just for personal enjoyment on Coursera myself, and some of these courses, they exceed what I would get at the local university here, at least from my point of view. So I think it's wonderful. And for most of the courses, when you sign up, it asks you, do you want a certificate showing that you completed it? And so I think as long as we're getting, you know, some documentation like that, you know, because you sign up, and I don't think students that, by and large, students that sign up for it, they're not going to, you know, have someone else take it for them and then try to transfer it. So I think people that really go on these sites really do the work. So I think that's a wonderful idea, and I think you know, we don't want to become like some of the universities and scrutinize. You know, there's not an I, you know, a dot over that I. You can't transfer 3 credits, and it's, you know, ridiculous. I've even ran into that taking immersion Spanish course in Mexico and having someone in the U.S. tell me, well, we don't know if we can take that. I'm like, I was learning Spanish in Mexico.
I speak it, I write it, okay, and you're telling me that I didn't take.
And I'm like, you can teach it better than they can, really? Okay, fine. Keep your
that is unfortunately one of the, as a student, one of the real criticisms I have of sort of traditional higher ed right now is that the fact that they're not, I mean, you know, good God, I mean, it makes sense to have rigorous oversight, but some of this stuff is just, you know, plain foolish. And you know it's to generate the fact that you have to take more classes to get your degree. You have to pay more money. Right. It's got nothing to do with servicing the students' needs. So I guess, you know, when, you know, to go back to, you know, the original thing about the business certificate, okay, is that we've got to be open to the fact that, you know, some of these, like the, you know, the Business 101, Intro to Business,
yep.
Okay, that there's going to be a whole lot of different ways in which to show that, but our value added is the fact that you get your portfolio.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Get your skills list. You've got the documentation. You have the fact that you can call, that the employer can call the professor to say, you know, so-and-so took my class. Do they really know what the heck's going on?
Yeah.
Would you recommend them? And you're going to have those kinds of records as a faculty member,
right.
or those kinds of records as a student, to be able to get that level of support, which is going to be great. You know, we're, again, Oplerno, from Oplerno's standpoint, the main thing is we want people to be taking classes,
right.
and we want people to be, you know, building skills and using the portfolio. From the faculty standpoint, it should be, hey, you know, I need to fill my classes. You know, I need the classes to be as high quality as possible. but we need to avoid this process of stifling students' progress through the system so that we can make an extra buck.
Make more money.
Not saying that all institutions are doing that, but some are. Great. So listen, we've been on for about 55 minutes. I guess the next steps is I'm going to meet with you and create that Podio site, and I'll meet with both of you guys.
Okay.
And we'll create that site, and then you guys we'll figure out how we're going to deal with the administration for that. But it'll be great and a great test case that we can come back to and start managing by tasks, and we can probably get the word out. I mean, business is a hot area. So my suspicion we can recruit for faculty to get involved in pursuing this.
Yeah.
The certificate and degree program. One person tweeted about be accredited in the state of Vermont, but there's some national accrediting that has to happen with business degrees. And so we're just going to have to navigate that.
Okay.
We don't need to navigate that in terms of the certificate.
No.
And that's a great building. That's a great stepping stone. Great. Okay. Let me just check to see if there are. I'm going to go back on the Google Hangout. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I don't get in trouble. Whoops. Oh, I've stopped sharing my screen automatically. I'm not in trouble. And then, no, we don't have any questions, so we'll take it up. Hey, thank you very much for your time. And I hope you're excited to I'm really excited to work with you on this. This is going to be great.
It was nice to meet you, Clara.
You too. I look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
All right. Have a good day, and I'll talk with you probably in the next 24 hours.
Yep.
We'll set up a time. Thank you, Professor.
Bye-bye.
Bye.